Hello everyone and welcome back to Very Cold Lasagna, your filthy casual place for all the filthy casual takes on the world of sports. I am DylanLasagna and welcome back to another weekly recap of the 2022 NFL season. And week 14 has come and gone. And well, a lot of shuffling has happened in the overall playoff race, both in the AFC and NFC. And man, these week's results were a little crazy, I will say about that. Some of the games were kind of hit or miss this week as the race to the playoffs continue. But man, a lot of these results are coming down to the wire. A lot of these races, getting tighter and tighter, more intense. Some of these spots are getting closer to getting clinched. But the name of the game is win to get in and don't get eliminated. And certainly another team has, gotten the axe, but we'll talk about it right now. So anyway, let's get into the week that was week 14 of this season as we continue to chug along in the month of December. So obviously we had our last round of bye weeks, and then everyone will be back in the fold as we chug along towards the end of the regular season. So we had the Atlanta Falcons, the Chicago Bears, the Green Bay Packers, the Indianapolis Colts, the New Orleans Saints, and the Washington Commanders all on bye week. They'll be coming back this coming week in week 15. So no one else will be on bye for the final 4 weeks. So there you go. Everyone's back in action, baby, just like it was for the first 5 weeks of the season. So, man, there you go. So kicking things off from the very first game in week 14 was Thursday Night Football, only on Amazon Prime Video, as the LA Rams took down the Las Vegas Raiders thanks to their new acquisition, Baker Mayfield, who led a comeback that was very improbable from the start because, the Las Vegas Raiders just continued to find new ways to lose, despite their defense doing a good job shutting down Baker Mayfield and the Rams offense. But the Raiders offense inability to continually score and their own stupid mistakes on defense allowed Baker Mayfield to lead a comeback that, everyone technically has overhyped and still are overhyping when, the real storyline was actually the Raiders choking this game as the Rams beat the Raiders 17-16. Going to the Sunday slate of games, starting with the early morning portion, it was a bad weather game down in Buffalo. Both teams were really struggling between the Bills and the Jets, but Gregory Rousseau and Matt Milano for Buffalo stepped up with 2 key turnovers on Mike White, who really gutted through this game with a rib injury. So hopefully he's okay. But it was also the legs of Josh Allen and kicker Tyler Bass who put up the points for the Bills as they exacted their revenge on the Jets 20-12. So the Bills chunking up those division wins, heading up into a big Saturday primetime battle against the Miami Dolphins coming up. Down in Cincinnati, the Browns shooting themselves in the foot with mistakes, so despite some improvement from Deshaun Watson a little bit. The Bengals rectified their Halloween disaster with an efficient showing from Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and their defense as they downed the Cincinnati Bengals, mind you, the Cleveland Browns 23-10. The Cowboys making a crap ton of mistakes and letting the Texans, yes, of all teams, the Houston Texans, letting them have their way with, despite the Texans playing a committee of quarterbacks with Davis Mills and Jeff Driscoll for whatever reason. But, let's remember, it's the Texans that they're playing. And the Texans will find a way to fuck it up. And fuck it up they did. An odd goal line play by Jeff Driscoll that was drawn up for him. It could have sealed the game. They were at the goal line with 5 minutes left to go. But instead, it turned bad. And Dallas went all the way down the field. And they punched it into the end zone with Ezekiel Elliott. He scored a touchdown with 43 seconds left. And the Dallas Cowboys went on to come back to beat the Houston Texans 27-23 when technically they pretty much played ugly ass football in a game that they should have easily beaten Houston in. And man, was I very wrong about that game. The Lions offense roared as Jared Goff was efficient in attacking a very weak Vikings defense, and Detroit's defense, mind you, pumped the brakes on comeback Kirk Cousins as the Lions prevented Minnesota from clinching the NFC North, at least for this week, and all of a sudden boosted their own playoff hopes as the Lions beat the Vikings 34-23. Yeah, look out for those Lions, ladies and gentlemen. Jalen Hurts continued to make his case for MVP, notching 3 total touchdowns and leading the offense with ease against an overmatched Giants team, dismantling them 48-22. Yeah, gang blue, not looking good. Both teams between the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers lost their starting quarterbacks in Kenny Pickett and Tyler Huntley to concussions during the game. But the Ravens managed to pull away enough from an ugly game with the dose of Justin Tucker's kicks, 16-14. A wild deflection reception by Zay Jones to end the first half jolted the all-elite Jaguars as a 13-point third quarter and an all-out defensive attack on Ryan Tannehill led to a full gear upset for Jacksonville, 36-22. Going to the late afternoon slate of games, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs jumped out to a quick 27-0 lead at halftime, but behind the Broncos, yes, in Week 14, their strongest offensive performance all season, they scored 21 unanswered points. Just like that in the third quarter before Russell Wilson had to leave the game with a concussion. And still, Brett Ripon, their backup, managed to pull them within 6 in the game. But that was all they could muster as the Chiefs would hold on to win 34-28. And Denver is officially eliminated from playoff contention. But hey, at least they could finally focus on getting a proper head coach for Russell Wilson. Or maybe Russell Wilson can finally focus on, being the quarterback that Denver needs them to be. But I guess the first thing first is getting Nathaniel Hackett the hell out of the Mile High. Carolina's defense forced 2 interceptions out of Geno Smith, and the Panthers' run game ate up time away and ran up the scoreboard as the Panthers pounded an upset over the Seahawks 30-24. Yeah, thank you, Carolina, for what the 49ers would need, as Brock Purdy's first career start couldn't have gone any better as he made Tampa Bay pay for their relentless blitzing with a really good passing performance that resulted in 2 combined touchdowns, and the defense, on the other hand, completely shutting down Tom Brady's homecoming as my San Francisco 49ers completely destroyed the Tampa Bay Bucks 35-7. And yeah, that Carolina win coming in real handy going to Thursday night. But the only downside is, though, it was kind of scary at the moment. They did lose Deebo Samuel for at least the regular season, but maybe they might get him back with the ankle sprain. The Sunday night football game of the season for Week 14, Justin Herbert. Nice performance of over 300 yards and connecting with the supporting cast at key moments helped the Chargers get a key victory and a key playoff tiebreaker over the struggling, all of a sudden, Miami Dolphins in their offense, 23-17. And, well, even though the Chargers did win this game, I don't know. I just have a weird feeling that they'll find a way to clipper it up. Then the Monday Night Football game to close out Week 14, Mac Jones and the Patriots offense, they had a slightly better showing, but it was all about their defense as Matthew Judon and Josh Uche led the way for the Patriots' 6-sack sandwich on the Cardinals quarterback. Yes, I say quarterback because, well, they just lost this game more than they needed to because, well, on the second play of the game, their starting quarterback, Kyler Murray, injured his left knee, non-contact injury on a run, and man, it's not looking good for them as the Patriots downed the Cardinals 27-13 in a total wipeout. So those were your games for Week 14, and man, a lot of playoff shuffling in the league. So, whew, oh boy, that was a lot to take in. So let's look at your winners and losers of Week 14. Starting with your winners, you gotta give a little bit of credit for the winners first to the Detroit Lions. with how they played against the Vikings. Even though they were labeled as favorites, I guess it was because Minnesota was missing a couple of starters. I didn't personally feel that way because, last week, yes, they pounded the pudding out of the all-elite Jaguars. It was, again, the all-elite Jaguars. The Jaguars are a rebuilding team. They're pretty inconsistent. They're still missing a couple pieces. But this week, against a supposedly contending Vikings team that had everything in some things in place, these Detroit Lions stepped up to the plate. You gotta give credit where credit is due with Jared Goff, especially because he looked poised. He looked aggressive. When you watch this game, he didn't make too many mistakes against an exposed Vikings defense. He was able to find open receivers constantly, and his receivers in Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams made a nice catch, for a big long bomb catch for the touchdown, and in the first quarter, to put Detroit in good scoring position. The defense did a really good job limiting Kirk Cousins and the Vikings offense from having a true chance of tying or coming back into a game that the Vikings honestly didn't really have much of a chance to be in. All of a sudden, now for the Lions, they actually do have a solid chance to get into the postseason if things go right for them. Because, you still have the Giants, you still have the Commanders, you still have the Seahawks, who they did lose to all the way back in week 4 back in September. So they do own that tiebreaker against them. But if things go their way, and with the schedule lining up a little bit better for them with the Jets, the Panthers, the Bears, and the Packers that's left for them, getting back to the postseason for Detroit doesn't really seem all that out of the question. And you got to give credit to my San Francisco 49ers. I doubted them a little with Brock Purdy. And even though the way he played against Miami, stepped in very well in relief of Jimmy Garoppolo. And, they're facing Tom Brady and the Bucs. And, Brady, still, he's Tom Brady, and his offense has been pretty disappointing. You kind of can't see that doubt. It's like, can Brock Purdy really play that, follow up with a better performance in week 14, or is he going to pull a dud? Turns out he did pretty damn good in that game against arguably one of the best to do it. And he didn't just do better. He completely dominated him. And he also looked well. He looked poised in the pocket. He got the ball out quick in the face of pressure. Brock Purdy did pretty damn good. It just sucks that, he got hurt playing with, I think it was a rib injury. So they got a short turnaround this Thursday. But overall, he looked pretty good for his first start. And the defense did a really good job assisting him and keeping Tom Brady in check. So the Niners, depending on how things go, they have an opportunity to clinch the NFC West. If these next couple of games will decide how well they do in terms of their postseason dreams. The Jacksonville Jaguars, after they got whacked by the Lions, the all-elite Jacksonville Jaguars, sponsored by All Elite Wrestling, bounced back with a really nice performance with a strong division win over the leading yet struggling division-leading Titans. As inconsistent as these Jaguars are, they actually have a shot at making the playoffs through winning the division. If they keep winning and the Titans keep struggling, I think the Titans have a harder schedule than Jacksonville does. I mean, sure, Jacksonville still has to play Dallas, but so does Tennessee. But for the Jaguars, they have to play the Jets. They have a better defense, but all they get is the Texans and the Titans. That's it. And then who else do the Titans have? What, the Texans also? I believe. I'm not too sure about that. But either way, it seems like the Titans are really more struggling than the Jaguars are, and the division is certainly not out of play for Jacksonville, and that could be their one-way entry into the playoffs. And this is your second year, so hey, you can't really complain about that if you're a Jaguars fan, if there's any out there. In terms of the losers, the Miami Dolphins, it's one thing to get beaten, you get your ass whooped by the 49ers and their strong ass defense. But against a beaten up Chargers defense, the Dolphins offense struggled a good amount outside of two lucky Tyreek Hill plays. And especially Tua Tagovailoa. He really struggled to connect with Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and others for much of the game. He really seemed whiffed, but by a lesser defense somehow. So this offense, for the second straight week, didn't look good. And again, this was a lesser defense, by the way. So there's not much of a turnaround for Miami. That's because now they have to go on the road to play the Bills in what's probably a must-win game for them if they want to try to get the division from the Bills. So if they want to get the season sweep over Buffalo, the offense got to wake up. And this is not a good time for Miami to be in a slump offensively. The Tennessee Titans, after the first half of Sunday's game, they just fell apart in just about every facet of it. Derrick Henry was doing okay in the first half, but then he was just being weird. They were doing this botched silent count for Derrick Henry, and then he fumbles the ball, and then the Jaguars recover it. Ryan Tannehill was getting relentlessly sacked, and he also turned the ball over a couple of times. The defense was unable to contain the eliteness of Zay Jones and Evan Ingram in the third quarter, as the Jaguars just pretty much laid out the all-out eliteness on Tennessee. So the Titans, they didn't really show any fight. They got too over reliant yet again on Derrick Henry and a sometimes good defense. So if this ends up being your AFC South winner yet again, don't expect them to come out of the first round of the playoffs. That's if they make it. That's if Jacksonville doesn't catch up to them. And then the New York Giants. This team, I don't know about them anymore. I think people are really starting to see them for who they truly are. And this is not the fault of Brian Daboll. I think it's more so about the offense that he has. And even he can't make the most out of him. So that was evident by how much the Eagles exposed just how much help Brian Daboll needs on offense. Because whenever Saquon Barkley gets shut down by good opposing defenses, Daniel Jones and the receivers become one-dimensional. And Daniel Jones is not able to do shit when Saquon Barkley gets shut down by defenses. So, that should be priority number one this offseason. As for the defense, they're okay at times. But against really good teams, like the Eagles, they get frequently toasted and roasted. And just like they did Sunday against the Eagles, they easily gave touchdowns away at will. So this is a really bad time for the Giants to be losing games. And they're really getting exposed for who they are as frauds. And with a brutal final 4 games on their schedule, it looks like they're not going to be making it unless some miracles happen for them. Unless they do want to get smashed in the first round. So there's always that. So those are your winners and losers of Week 14. Now, for my 2-minute hurry-up discussion of the week, I want to talk a little bit about the Denver Broncos. Because, I roast them hard. I roast them hard whenever I get the chance. And, rightfully so, because they're the most disappointing team of this season. I mean, sure, you could say the Houston Texans, but it's expected. They suck. And that's not to say they're disappointing. They can't call them the most disappointing team because we knew coming in that they would absolutely suck. The Denver Broncos this year are the most disappointing team because they gave up a shit ton of draft capital, a shit ton of players to the Seattle Seahawks to go get Russell Wilson. And here they are in 2022 by week 14 with Russell Wilson and other guys like Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, and, well, other players that they could have had, and also the strong-ass defense. And yet, here they are, eliminated from the postseason, at least postseason contention, because their offense has been outright terrible. They're dead last in the league in several categories on offense. And their defense is absolutely pissed, and especially in the recent weeks, for how terrible they've been. Nathaniel Hackett, for whatever reason, can't get his team to do well on offense. So these final 4 weeks, I don't know what the heck they're going to do. Like, I don't know what kind of chemistry, if there's any left, they're going to establish. But this Denver Broncos team has been absolutely disappointing to watch. They are an absolute chore to have been to see whenever they've been on primetime television. And thank God they haven't been on primetime TV since like about a month ago, because they've been absolutely dreadful. They've been absolutely dreadful to watch. So let's just hope. I mean, I pray for nobody to get fired unless they absolutely are terrible or they've done something pretty bad in real life. Nathaniel Hackett needs to go. He's just not the right fit for Russell Wilson in this offense. And he's clearly in over his head. So Denver has clearly been the most disappointing team for a lot of aspects. And they need to find the right coach for Russell Wilson to hopefully get them back to the playoffs at minimum. So that was your hurry up discussion of the week in regards to the Denver Broncos and how they're the most disappointing team in all of 2022 in this NFL season. So let me know your thoughts on this week in week 14 of the 2022 season. Let me know your thoughts on the results, the winners and my winners and losers. Who were your winners and losers of week 14? Let me know about them in the comments below. And yeah, week 15 is coming up real soon. And yeah, a lot more playoff spots are about to be wrapped up. And the playoff picture is going to be shifted even more. So exciting times, ladies and gentlemen. Exciting times. So get ready for the ride. So anyway, this is DylanLasagna of Very Cold Lasagna signing out, and keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of sports. And until next time, peace out.